Hi guys, Drew here. Today I want to talk a little bit about loading candles. Now, in our Etsy shop, we sell loaded Espeik candles. You can see this one for sure has been loaded. We also sell loading kits, and they look like this. Well, there's 5 different ones. That one's Love. They have our label with the instructions, and inside's everything you need to load: a candle, herbs associated with the intent, and a tiny little ceiling candle. Sorry, I have a cold, so my voice is being kind of dumb. Today I wanted to talk about the reasons and the process of loading candles. So why would we want to load a candle? Basically, when we load a candle, we take a normal everyday candle and turn it into a candle with specific intent. It's best to use soft votives. Today I'll be using this candle. It is a candle that I got at Dollar Tree. I use much nicer candles for the loads we do for our Espeik candles. They're much more expensive and better quality. They're Reiki charged, but this works just fine as long as it is a soft candle. It doesn't have to be super fancy. If it's a brittle candle, even soft candles can break and chip. Fortunately, it's wax, so it's pretty easily repaired, but softer candles are much easier to hollow out. So first we'd want to choose our intent. What is it we're trying to do? Today I'm going to be doing a candle to clear disharmony, to, cleanse, clear, to energetically clear a space. So I chose white for my color of my candle. You can choose any color that will work for your purpose. I'm also choosing to work with rosemary, as it emits a clearing, purifying vibration when it's burned. I'll be using cinnamon because it raises spiritual vibration when it's burned. And lastly, sage, because it drives away malevolent energies when it's burned. All of these things suit my purpose perfectly. The other tools that we will need, you'll need a small knife. You'll need some kind of fire, a lighter, matches, a separate candle for sealing, a sealing candle. And I always seal my loaded candles with my little wax seal here, but you don't have to do that. It's certainly not a requirement. It's just a personal preference that I have. All right, the next step is to hollow out the candle. Again, we want to be somewhat gentle. With these types of candles, the little anchor is on the outside. You need to be careful. If you get too aggressive, this type of wick will easily slip out, and it may not be easy to get back in because you're digging around in there and displacing wax and changing the shape of the hole possibly. So I always like to bend over the top of the wick and hold it with my finger when I'm using this type of candle. When you're using anchors that are set inside the candle, for some reason the wick typically stays put and you don't have to worry as much. But it's really not that big of a deal. It's not, you just keep your finger over it, it'll be fine. But as you can see, I just sort of take a thin layer at a time out of the candle until I'm satisfied with the size of the hole that I have created, that there's enough room for the load I want for all the herbs that I'm trying to put in the quantity that I'm requiring for my work. And I'm sorry, that little ching ching noise in the background, my bracelets keep sliding into my tray. I apologize if that's annoying. Okay, again, you just kind of want to I mean, you want to be firm and steady. You want to get the wax out, but you don't want to get overly aggressive. I do it all the time. I mean, not every time I load candles, but it happens. I load candles a lot. I love candle magic. This is one of my favorite methods personally. So at least 2-3 times a year, if not more, depending on if I'm making loaded candles for the shop or not. Because of course we have 12 different Esphit candles, you know, one for each month. And I like to have more than one made up for each month at a time. So it can be a large number of candles I'm making. So there may be more, but I crack them at least 2-3 times a year. And you know, what'll happen is a piece of the side will break out. And then I personally just drip some wax into the hole created and pop that sucker back on, and then drip some more wax on the side to mend it. Because again, it's wax, it can be fixed. Okay, so here we have our hole ready to be filled with our ingredients. Typically, I like to ahead of time take my ingredients and pull them out and mix them together a little bit. So they're a little blended. I did not do that before this video. I had a hard enough time sitting there trying to remember to get everything together properly. I've had to stop it during filming a couple times to get things that I've forgotten. I forgot my knife. How are you gonna hollow out a candle without a knife? Had to stop the film, go get the knife. So I'm just kind of all over the place. I'm sick and I'm doing this in a way that's I don't typically do. I don't usually film or talk while I'm doing this kind of thing. And you know, while you're working, of course, it's always great to set your intention and be mindful. Of course, I'm not doing that right now because I'm talking, but I can set the intention later. And I mean, the herbs know what they're doing. The herbs and the candle. Yes, I make magic, but I don't make all the properties that I work with, all the elements and pieces of my magical. They already are. Everything is. I just tap into that. So you fill it with your herbs. I got a nice load. And the next step, of course, is to seal it. But because the herbs will not hold the wax, the melted wax, you need to put a little bit of the displaced wax back inside. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good seal. It just won't do it. So pack it in there real good, like so. And then use your fire. Sorry, my bracelets are doing it again. And how long this takes is going to depend on, like I have a ceiling fan going, and there are days, for whatever reason, that the ceiling fan blows in such a way that it is beneficial to what I'm doing, and there are days when it doesn't. I don't know. Of course, if the flame touches the candle, then it's going to burn better. But if you tilt the candle too far, the wax will just run down the wick and put out the flame. That happens to me regularly as well, because I'm not paying attention. And yes, I do blow out my candle when I do this. I snuff them when they're on my altar or I'm doing magic work, but for this, I blow out my candle. And I regularly blow it out and trim the wick, because the longer the wick is, the further the flame is from the candle, and thus the longer it takes to melt the wax. The shorter the wick, the quicker the wax melts. And so I'm not sitting here for 10 years while I'm waiting for this. Well, guys, this is going to be one of my shorter videos, I'm sure, but it doesn't take long to explain this process. And you know, it is that time of year. I do celebrate Yule, so this week is I've got stuff going on. And then my family, of course, celebrates Christmas, so I've got stuff going on next week as well. So the next couple videos might be kind of short, but, well, this video and the next one, but I'm sure you can understand and sympathize. Okay, so now we got the load completed, and I'm going to stamp my load. And then I like to flip it over. I'm going to move some of this wax and push it down and then rock it and gently pull it back up, because that makes it flat so that it can sit when it's burning. Otherwise it's all lumpy bumpy, which, I mean, usually isn't a huge problem, because I got smoke going everywhere. That usually isn't a huge problem because the lumps and bumps aren't that big, but I just like it to be flat, probably because I started making them for product, making them to sell, and I wanted them to be more uniform. Yeah, so that's my loaded candle tutorial. This is, as I said, one of my favorite forms of candle magic. And it can be used for anything. Sometimes I will also anoint the candle to give it an extra oomph. I hope that this was useful to anyone who has never loaded a candle. I really hope you try it. And until next time, much love and gratitude.